Hey everyone, we are back with another one of our Families Fly Free member interviews. This is one of my favorite things to do because I love for our members to tell you their perspective, and each member brings something different. And so we like to bring all different types of people who've had all different types of experiences. So today we have Kay Wallingford. Did I say that right? Wallingford.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to let you tell us a little bit about yourself, Kay.
Okay. All right. Happy to. I am honored to be asked to do this, Lynn. You have helped me so much in my travel life, and I just hope that I can say something that will be of benefit to others, because you've really totally changed my life as far as travel goes. I am happily married for 48 years. And we have two older daughters, and they're married. I have 6 grandsons, only boys, no girls. So
I can relate. As a mother of boys.
we throw a lot of balls and drive a lot of trucks. So that's
dirty.
Wonderful. And I am retired, which is wonderful. But as far as travel, I think we probably waited too late to start our traveling.
Never too late. Never too late.
Well, I'm starting to run out of time because people don't realize that their bodies change, and the knee starts giving them trouble, or the eyesight's not as good, or maybe you have back problems. But we are traveling as much as we can right now, and we are loving it. And this is going to be one of my hints is to everybody is don't put it off.
Amen to that.
Travel right now. And that's one of the things that you have done for Ken and me, is that you have encouraged us to go for it and travel, and we are making the most of it, and we love it. So I like your strategy. I really fell in love with traveling because one of my best friends was a travel agent, and she had been to over 70 countries. And I love to hear her stories, and we talk about traveling. And I went, oh my gosh, I want to be able to afford to do that. And so we took a trip to Italy, but wow, it was expensive just to get there. So I said, I've got to find out another way of traveling. So thankfully I have, and my husband and I just enjoy, well, I'll get into all of that later, where we go and what we do. But generally we fly out of Austin. We don't RV like my parents did, because Texas is just too big. So we like to catch a Southwest flight and fly to Denver and then rent a car. And then we like to just travel around in that area and then go back to Denver, and then we fly back to Austin. Austin's not a big hub, so we can't go to a lot of cities like, Dallas and Houston are big hubs. So that's generally how we like to travel. And it's just my husband and I that are doing most of the travel. Like I said, we are retired, which is good. We have lots of flexibility, but we don't do all the hikes like we wish that we could. So
I don't know. I have trouble with the hikes.
That's where
right now.
Yeah, that's where we are right now.
Yeah. But yeah, let me put an exclamation point on your note of travel now, because I can't tell you how many people email me and say, Greg, particularly during the pandemic, oh, I wish we had traveled, because now we can't. We don't know if we'll ever be able to, because they have a surgery, or they might get sick, or, advanced stage, all of that. So, and I just feel like you just don't ever know what's coming around the corner. You don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. So if you can do something now, do it now. Right. Don't put off till tomorrow what you can do today. I have gotten burned on that one so many times. If I could just follow that. Anyway, that's I think an important point. So
well, and really very soon after my husband retired, he had a heart attack. Well, that's something that you're not anticipating at all. So that delayed us. And of course, then, as you said, COVID, you just don't know what the future holds. You just need to go for it right now.
Yeah. So any of you who are thinking about joining and you're hesitant, like so many of our members are like, oh, I'm so glad I did this now. And we have a lot of people too. They're like, oh, I wish I'd done this when my kids were young. Right. So if you have young kids, do it. Then you don't have to have that regret. But okay. So tell us why you decided to join Families Fly Free.
Okay. So like I said, we had taken a trip to Italy and come back, and I just realized that this was going to take a whole lot more money than I had planned on because I had a lot of travel ambitions. So I started following a guy called the Points Guy online, and
I have no idea who that is.
Okay, terrific program. He was on TV, and it was very, very exciting. I just couldn't understand him. I couldn't understand how to do it. I couldn't understand how am I going to earn all those points that it took to fly free. And so I just started searching around on the internet, and I came across a real down-to-earth, personable lady named Lynn Mettler. And she was at that time the go-to travel gal.
Yeah.
And I started reading some things that you put online. And I said, I can understand her. She's talking my language. She was very personable, and I wanted to know more. I wanted to know more about her, program. So of course, at that point, I had a United card and I had a Chase Sapphire Reserve card, but I didn't quite know what to do. So I had read a lot about what you posted online, and I talked to my husband about another credit card, and he went, "Oh no." Some people may have opposition like I did with their husband.
Very common. My husband was the same way.
Yes, not to get involved in another credit card scheme. And I said, Ken, I really think this one is different. And so we signed up with a program, and all of a sudden, Lynn Mettler said that you wanted to have a private consult with me. And I went, whoa, this was impressive. And so I'm getting kind of nervous because I'm talking to you on the telephone, and it was like I was talking to a celebrity. I felt like I was, really had the benefit of talking one-on-one with someone who really knew what they were doing and could give me a lot of information. You asked very exact questions. You were sincerely interested in my success, and you knew you had an exact plan for how I could start flying free. And this just was so exciting to me. I couldn't believe it. So I encouraged my husband to let us try this program, which was good. We had gotten into some credit card debt before, but you had made sure that we were willing to pay off the credit card at the end of every month, because if you don't, you're not flying free.
Nope. Big a steep price to do it.
Right. So, that's what I told my husband. So we, promised each other that we would stay on top of this. And that's how I got involved. So now, we've flown 7 free trips on our companion pass. I applied for the Southwest card that you encouraged me to get, and we were getting ready to have a kitchen remodel. So I just applied all that money on the credit card, and we acquired that companion pass in like 3 months. It was so fast. Now, I wouldn't do that anymore because you've taught me that it's much more beneficial to apply for just the Southwest card and then to apply for a business credit card.
Right.
And I said, but how can I get a business credit card? So you educated me about all of that. So when you heard that we have a rent house, you said, that's a business. And I went, we can do this. We can do this. So that'll be my next strategy. I like working with your program, Lynn, because you always give me goals, new goals to go for. So that's what we're headed for now, because our companion pass is expiring at the end of this year. So we're getting ready to re-enroll and try for it for 2 more years so we can travel more.
And you feel good that you know the process to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're confident. And is it, do you find it to be a difficult process or time consuming?
I think that's one of my big S's. I have a lot of S's. It's simple. It's a simple to follow process that's laid out by a very smart woman. Those are my S's. But that's not to say I know exactly what to do all the time. And that's the benefit of working with you, Lynn, is that I can always send a question your way and you answer it so quickly, or Cammie does, or Lisa does, one of your team members.
Right.
And even if when I'm unsure, you're always there to help me. And I really, really appreciate that.
Yeah. And I think that is an important component to just have the confidence that you're not going to make a mistake because you've got somebody to run it by. And like you said, we have your interest. We want you to be successful, because I wouldn't have a membership if it didn't work for anybody.
Right.
So, I mean, we truly want you to be successful with this. And yeah, take all these amazing trips. So, so let's talk about what's one of your favorite parts of membership?
If I open my email and there's an email from Families Fly Free, it's exciting. I am motivated now for a travel. If I meet somebody at a party, or I go to church and I bump into somebody I haven't seen in a while, they invariably say, well, where are you going next?
I know. Don't you get the whole kind of like, oh, brother.
No. And of course I love it. And many times they have been someplace, and I can talk travel all day long. So if I get an email from you, it's exciting. I love your emails because they keep me very current. I think a lot of times people just like to get on the internet and they read a lot about, travel on YouTube's, or they'll listen to a podcast, but that does not give the currency that you give to your listeners. When I open an email from you, I know that it's going to be current information, and you keep me on top of sales. And I love it when you tell me whether a sale is good or, just so. That makes a difference. And of course, it's the little secrets. That's another S. Simple, smart secrets. You give me secrets like the best phone number to call to get fast service. I think that right there has saved me so much time. It's worth the entire membership.
Well, that's saying something, right? I mean, there's a huge time savings component. We focus on the money savings, but
no, it's huge. It's huge. People don't understand that retired people are very busy, and we don't like to sit and wait on, somebody to answer our phone calls. So when my husband saw that I could get into Southwest Airlines as fast, he said, "This is great." And so he's totally bought into your program.
We sold him. Okay, good.
Yes, thank you. He thinks I'm very smart now, but actually, I have to tell him that it's Lynn. So we're first to know about the sales. You always tell us the best time to buy points. And I don't buy a lot of points, but if I'm just trying to finish off something. And I'd much rather use points, of course, than, cash.
Right.
So it's just those little secrets that have surprised me. Best days to buy a ticket, of course. All of your webinars, which I can't always watch because I'm traveling. But I know that I can always go back and catch them later because you have recorded them. So I don't know. The surprises just keep on coming. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Are there webinar topics that you found interesting?
I always like the question and answer webinars because that to me, those are specific scenarios that people are encountering, struggling with. And invariably, I will watch a webinar that I will learn something, or maybe I heard it before, but I had forgotten it. So it will just kind of set off another way of thinking about something, and kind of change my strategy. You changed my strategy about how to plan a trip. As I said, my husband and I are retired, so we have pretty great flexibility. So I book my flights now according to the low fare calendar. And I never used to do that. I was still on the mentality of work schedule. So I would plan my trip from, Thursday till Monday. Well, that's not the best, cheapest time to plan your trips. So I always learn something from your webinars. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is there a surprising part of membership, something that surprised you?
I'm surprised that I keep learning. I talk to some people who say, well, I know all of that. And they really don't. Because airlines change constantly and their rules change constantly. For example, I was surprised to learn that Southwest Airlines had just changed the flight or the points requirement for companion pass from 120,000
Something's always changing
to 135,000. So I am always surprised that I can really stay up to date when I thought I really was up to date, but I wasn't. I'm far more knowledgeable now. And as I said, my husband thinks I'm so smart about all of this, but I'm just learning from you.
Okay, tell us about some of the trips that you've been able to take since you've become a Families Fly Free member. And you're in year 2, I think, or are you in year 3?
Yes, towards the end of year 2. Mm-hmm,
okay, all right. So yeah, tell us about some of what you've been able to do.
Okay, we have taken seven trips on Southwest Airlines. We've taken another trip that was on another airline, but because I had Chase Sapphire Reserve points, I used them for that.
Right. That's a great way. Like I always tell people, here and there, you can fly another airline. Like you don't have to exclude. Southwest needs to be your main airline, but exactly what you did there.
Okay.
Sometimes you need to take another airline, and that's fine.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Well, and of course, during COVID, we, COVID was good and that bad as far as travel, because as far as COVID went, my husband and I just traveled in the United States. So we've taken 7 trips in just the United States. And then we've taken a couple of trips overseas, but that was just in this, past year. COVID was good in that we saved a lot of Chase Sapphire Reserve points. So, that was fun. But my favorite trip was flying round trip out of Boise, because we flew up to Boise, Idaho, and then rented a car, like I said, we always do, and then drove up to Coeur d'Alene, and then we drove back down into Bozeman, Montana, and then went down into Yellowstone and to Grand Teton, and then west over to Sun Valley, and then back to Boise.
Yeah,
And
that
of
sounds
course,
amazing.
oh, it was amazing. It was fabulous. And we did that with all of our family. At least they met up with us in Yellowstone National Park. And thanks to your introduction for me to Ash Nudd, I know all about national parks now, and just had a great experience with Grand Teton and Yellowstone. And then we flew into Phoenix one time, and I used your notes to drive up to Sedona. That was wonderful. Then we flew into Orlando. I love to fly into Orlando because it's always so cheap for points. I think we flew round trip like for 10,000 points or something. It was great. And then we just made a trip around Florida. We drove over to Tampa, then we went down the West Coast all the way to Key West, and then we went back up the East Coast all the way back up, and then back over to Orlando. We thought we would include Disney World on that trip, but we decided to go back to Disney World on another trip. So yeah, that was wonderful. And then we also flew into Maine, or actually we flew into Boston, and then we did a trip all the way up to Acadia National Park, and then just drove along the coast of Maine, which was absolutely fabulous. We flew into Colorado Springs, and thanks to Cammie, I got a lot of hints for staying in the Colorado Springs area. Love Colorado Springs. And then drove on up to Vail.
So much to do there. It's so pretty.
Drove on up to Vail and up to Mount Rushmore for the 4th of July. And then for Thanksgiving last year, my daughter wanted to have a family get together in Gatlinburg in the Smoky Mountains. So my husband and I decided that we would fly into Nashville, since it was a nonstop from Austin, which we love. And then we just rented a car and drove from Nashville on into Gatlinburg. And then we took our Disney World trip the first week of December. So we got to see all the Christmas decorations, and that was absolutely fabulous. Oh, and then we decided to use a lot of those Chase Sapphire Reserve points because we've always wanted to fly business class to Europe. So we just bit the bullet and we flew business class from Austin to Munich, and got to fly business and went on a Viking river cruise, which was another
on my list.
Another bucket list for us. But what's interesting about that trip, Lynn, is that was during the time period that so many of the airlines were having difficulty with cancellations. We really wanted to be on time when we flew into Munich because we wanted to catch our Viking River cruise on time.
Mm-hmm.
So just to be absolutely sure that we made that flight and that our flights would not be canceled, we flew from Austin to Denver. And then we used Chase Sapphire points to stay in a hotel for free. And then we stayed overnight in the hotel. And then we caught the nonstop flight from Denver to Munich the next day. There was no worry. And the remarkable thing about it is that Austin surprisingly got rain in the summer, which usually doesn't happen. And our flight was so delayed, we would have missed our flight to Munich. So I was very grateful that we went ahead and tried that option.
Yeah, that's
another thing that you've taught me is to be a little bit creative in your planning. Like I said earlier, flexibility, try things differently, try going on different, days and different flights. So I appreciate that about Families Fly Free.
Yeah. And even like sometimes like you did breaking it into 2 different legs, sometimes that can be cheaper, instead of booking Austin all the way to Munich. I don't know how it worked out, but it could have been cheaper to do Austin to Denver and then Denver to Munich,
Uh-huh. Right.
Just different. It is just a different way to think about it.
Right.
different ways to do it.
Right. Yes. Well, I'm getting better. It's taken me a little while, but I'm still learning, like I said earlier. But Families Fly Free has really changed my attitude about flying. You have motivated me to think more about travel, to plan more about travel, to expand my thinking, and that's what I love about it. Mm-hmm.
So are you able to quantify what you think you might have saved across all those trips?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, because I love to tell my husband that.
See, this was a very wise investment, right?
So I figured if I've taken 7 flights, or if my husband and I have taken 7, then that's 14 flights, right? And you always say that it's on the average about $350, dollars per flight. Well, that's $4,900 right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then flying business class from Austin to Munich would have been $7,000 because it's about $3,500 per person.
Wow.
Yeah. So I know, yeah, we would.
So even though it was a lot of points, like you still paid nothing. Like that's so worth it.
We paid nothing. So that has been a cumulative savings of $11,000. Oh, no, $11,900 right
Check.
there.
Awesome.
Yeah, right.
I know,
right.
like what a great return. And I was just writing an email today and was telling the story of like me applying for the first card, and that same scenario you described of we were nervous about that. We had been in debt before. Is this too good to be true? And like, if I hadn't have done that, all the things we wouldn't have done.
Exactly.
That we have now done. I wouldn't trade that for the world.
No, and that's what I mean. Families Fly Free has motivated me to believe in myself that I can do this. And I'm not a very confident traveler, actually, when it comes to booking flights and figuring out all the websites. And what you've taught me is that I can do this and that there's different ways of thinking. So I sincerely appreciate it. Yes. And you've taught me that it's a step-by-step process. I know you probably don't want to think this, but you kind of hold my hand and you lead me through my travel. Mm-hmm.
Well, and that is the whole idea of membership, because really nothing else exists like this. The points guy's not going to hold your hand, right?
Yeah, no.
You'll be lucky if somebody responds to your comment on a post, and then it's really not going to be very customized or tailored to you. And so that is, I just saw the need for that, right? And that's why I have created this. So there is an option for people who want it laid out for them, and it just works.
And right. And it's not buying it's not getting a bunch of credit cards.
No.
It's just, well, we just have 4 cards right now, and you've opened the world to us.
Yeah. So it can be as simple as 3 or 4 cards. Yeah. We do most of ours with 3. And if you throw in the reserve, like you could either have preferred or reserve, take your pick, but some people have both, and that's where the 4 usually comes in. But
right. And I know that you're encouraging people now to look at the Venture X card instead of the Chase Sapphire Reserve, which we will probably look at after we acquire our companion pass. Yeah. We just want to do it step by step.
And that's like a good point of like things change. Like the best way to fly free isn't going to stay the same forever. Right. And so like you said, we're current and we look at these things that come along and we go, would that be a simpler option? If so, we're going to shift to that and explain to our members why this might be a good choice for them, to look at. Do you have anything to share about your experience working with our team?
Well, I said
quick responses to questions.
Right. I feel like they're my friends. Isn't that something? I've never met them before.
We have such an awesome team.
You're all so personable, and we're all speaking the same language. And I think that's what really helps me. You're very, very prompt, and I have direct access to you. And I'm also getting a lot of help now in the community from places that I want to go, or it gives me ideas of places to go, and giving me information. Like I said, when I went to Colorado Springs, Cami, was right there to help me. And I just really value that. I do. And I don't know. And now there's Chris, and I'm getting to know Chris because he's the one that sends me all the emails that make my day exciting. So yeah, now I'm getting to know him. So it's great.
As our community grows, like as we get more and more members, like that is where our community forum has become so much more vibrant and active, because you have so many more people, like you said, that can share their experience of a particular destination, or maybe they live in that destination and they can tell you, no, don't do this to get from the airport, or you do need a car, or you can take public transportation,
Yes.
or this is a good area to stay in, this isn't,
Right.
And that's all very valuable. Like I think you can kind of get that on TripAdvisor, but you don't really know who you're talking to, And the membership, I think we all want to help one another. There's some trust level there, that you can count on.
Yeah, definitely.
So what would you tell people who are hesitant about joining because of the cost, because it's a significant investment? What would you say to them if they're not sure if they should join or not?
Okay. I thought about this for a long time. I can remember going by a garden and nursery store one time. And so hang with me here. Okay. And there was a sign out front that says, good seeds don't cost, they pay. And I got to thinking about that, because they wanted you to buy their best brand of seeds. And I got to thinking, that applies with a lot of things. Good education doesn't cost, it pays. And when I think about your services don't cost me, they pay me. I make money. I save money, but I actually have more money now to travel, because I'm saving money by not paying for my airfare. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah, I mean, it's like it's shifting your view of looking at it. Instead of looking at it as an expense, you look at it as an investment that's going to pay you a return.
Right. Good investments don't cost, they pay.
Right. They will earn more than you invested. And that is like, I would not have a business if they didn't make more money than they invested. And that's why we have a guarantee that we stand by, because that's the whole idea. It's designed to make you money.
But the real benefit here is that not only are you saving me money, but you're giving me all these added benefits of the webinars and the emails and the information on top of the money that I'm saving. So it's the whole picture that I think people have to understand. I do think it's for the customer or client who really wants to travel and who has made a conscious decision to pay off their credit card at the end of every month. And I know I've heard you say that as well. So when my husband and I decided that, it made us a lot more aware of our spending. And we pay off our credit cards now every month. It's not even a question. And we watch them. In fact, I'll never forget the first time I was watching some webinar that you were talking about how you pay off your credit card at the end of the week.
Or you can even do it like every other day. That's what I tell people to do. Like if you just aren't good at, at the end of the month, you're like, oops, I didn't remember I spent all that. And now I don't have that in my account. Because if you do it, like, you literally can't do it the same day you charge because it hasn't processed yet. But if you pay it the next day,
Right.
it's not any different than using your debit card because it's just coming right out. You don't have to worry about, do you have it at the end of the month?
Right, right. And then the other reason is that now that I am an older person, I realize that I don't have quite as much time as I thought I did. I have a long list of places that I wanted to go, and I'm beginning to run out of time. I always thought that when I retired, I would have lots of free time and I would be able to go anywhere I wanted to. But I didn't realize that my health concerns would prevent me from going as many places as I wanted to, or doing as many things as I wanted to. My travel agent friend had always said, okay, all you need to do is travel overseas in your 60s and travel the United States in your 70s. Well, that doesn't work because you will run out of time.
Right. And like I said, you don't know what happens tomorrow,
You don't know. You snooze, you lose.
Exactly.
So it's been very important to me to tell my children, if you want to travel, you need to do it now. Take your children, show them the world, learn about other cultures. It is a big, beautiful world out there, and do not put it off. I think specifically of the trip to Florida that we took all down the West Coast. And we went over to Sanibel Island and we looked for seashells. And then I saw how that bridge was totally wiped out with the hurricane.
Yeah.
And I think it's been rebuilt by now, but you know that
no, I don't think so. I think they said that was going to be like, I don't know, like years. And
oh, really? I just cherish the time that I had looking at Florida before the hurricane.
Well, another one that I thought about is when Notre Dame in Paris, when there was the fire, we had been there, a couple years before. I was just like, thank goodness we got to see that. Like, can you imagine if that had been completely destroyed? That is so old and such an amazing piece of architecture. Like, even if it's not about yourself, like you're saying, you don't know what disaster is going to happen, or,
Exactly.
But I think you're leaving a legacy, right? Like, this is beyond just you seeing the world. Like, you are leaving a legacy for your kids and for your grandkids, and you're role modeling for them.
Well, that's what they say. That's what they say. And I told them, I said, you got to get over to Europe pretty fast. I mean, there's cobblestones everywhere. You just don't realize that they're hard to walk on, when you get older. So
that's a
don't put it off. Don't put it off. You may have trouble with your knees in the future.
Well, I guess that's the trouble with waiting till retirement. Like you said, is then you start having health issues. Your body starts to have problems. So
that's right. That's right. So sign up today.
Okay. Last question I want to ask you is it too good to be true?
Oh, no, not at all. Because I'm doing everything that you're suggesting, and it's working. If I could give you one specific example, I love this. This is a great story, and it just happened. I had finally learned to look at the low fare calendar before I planned my trip. So I'd already planned a trip to go to Denver, and I had not planned it according to the low fare calendar. So I listened to your webinar and I said, I need to do that. So I went back and I checked the dates, and I said, wow, if I moved this trip by one day, I could save 11,000 points.
Right.
So I went back, I called Southwest Airlines because I'd already, connected the companion to it. I called Southwest and said, can I change this flight? I just need to change it for one day. And it was cheaper, and Southwest had made a change. I forgot to say that they had made a change on the flight. So I changed it to another day, and it saved me 11,000 points. So then several weeks later, I got an invitation to go to Dallas to a surprise birthday party. Well, driving from Austin to Dallas is a nightmare. There's always construction. It's horrible. So I looked at my husband and I said, why don't we just fly to Dallas? And he said, okay. So I checked it. You know how much it cost? Because it was on the sale day. It was on the sale day. You know how much it cost? It was 1,100 points for us to fly. And so we're going to fly up on a Saturday. The party is at 2 p.m. We're going to fly home that night. We won't have to drive on I-35 from Austin to Dallas. That's wonderful. It's wonderful.
That is so wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean,
sorry.
that's like not even, you could sneeze and earn 1,100 points, you know? Right? That's just, you wouldn't even notice that being gone. So I love it. Okay. Awesome. Is there anything else you would want to add or share that we didn't talk about?
Car rentals. You know,
How to save on other things. They
can be so expensive. Like I said earlier, I met Ash Nudd, Dirt in My Shoes.
Yeah, let's give her a shout out. dirtinmyshoes.com. She's all about national parks.
She has planned all of our national park trips. Travel insurance. You've given me great information on travel insurance. You've taught me how to use Southwest hotels. When I can't remember what I was trying to earn points for, but we stayed at a Kimpton hotel in Key West and for 3 nights and got 17,000 points. That was my biggest one.
Might as well get some points.
Might as well. Navigating Disney World, I used that. And now I'm on to cruise. So I'm going to start looking at ways that I can save on cruises. So it's much more than just saving on airfare. It's really saving on many aspects of travel. Really.
Yeah, and I think that's very important because when you start to fly free a lot, those other expenses can add up, and then you're still in the boat of it's too expensive. So if you don't know how to save on everything, then you don't really have a good plan in place to do that. So that's why we try to supplement with all the other things that we think that you need to know as well. And you're a good example of, like, you have done all the different types of things that we talk about: theme parks, national parks, Europe. When you were talking about where you've literally been all 4 corners of the country and the middle, you know.
Right. I know. And I really don't think it would have happened, Lynn, if it wasn't for Families Fly Free.
Well, that's awesome. And that is what we're here trying to do. So is make that a reality for more people. So listen to Kay.
Now, would you tell my husband that?
We've already convinced him. Oh, but listen to you. Yes. Yeah. Listen to Kay. She knows what she's talking about. She
in addition to
Families Fly Free. She recommended that. Look what a good idea that was. Okay.
Right.
All right. Anything else you wanted to share?
You know, I think that's just about covered it, really.
Okay. Yeah. Really. Well, that was fantastic. So all you folks, start traveling before you retire. If you are retired, it's not too late. Get at it. And thanks for joining me today, Kay, and thanks for being a member. So we will see everyone on the next episode.